On the banks of the River Rouge in Dearborn, not far from Detroit, stands the Ford plant, dynamic center of a great industry. Its silvered stacks and many roofs rise clean and sharp against the sky. A marvel of cleanliness and efficiency, it is world famed for the quality of its product. Hundreds of thousands of visitors from all over the world go through it annually. Materials from farm, mine, and forest reach the plant by truck, train, and ship. And each year, more than 1 million automobiles are produced. On November 6, 1936, for the first time in history, the entire Ford dealer organization of more than 8,000 dealers visited this plant. And as the climax of their inspiring visit, saw Mr. Henry and Mr. Edsel Ford and the great new Ford V8 for 1937. Weeks before, stenographers began writing letters of invitation. Accommodations for nearly 9,000 dealers were arranged. Scores of chefs and hundreds of waiters were employed. Hundreds of carpenters, electricians, and decorators were called into service. Buses from 3 states, 300 of them were chartered. All of this in preparation for the announcement of this great double feature program, the introduction of the new car, 2 new engines, and a great merchandising campaign for 1937. Simultaneously, Ford dealers of the United States and Canada received word of this meeting and of a day with Ford at Dearborn.
Well, how are we this morning, huh?
Just fine. Lovely morning, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Here, file this. You answer that. Tell them no. Oh, boy, look at this. All the dealers are going to be guests of Mr. Ford at Dearborn.
All of them? Why, that's wonderful. Gee, there must be thousands of them.
Why, there's more than 8,000 of them. Say, call the branch for me, will you, right away? Oh, boy, and I'll see the new cars, too. How about that call at the branch? How's it coming?
It's going through.
Hey, Ed, where are you? We're going to Dearborn.
And so on November 6, 1936, all roads lead to Dearborn. From the east, from the south, from the west, and from the north, Ford dealers from the 36 branches serving the United States and a delegation from Canada entrain. They are on their way for what is to prove the greatest as well as the most significant gathering of automotive men ever held in the industry. From early Thursday afternoon until late Friday morning, trainload after trainload of enthusiastic dealers pulled into the railroad yards at Dearborn and Detroit. Each dealer arrived with a definite goal in mind.
We want to see that 37 Ford, and we'd like to carry one home with us.
Ah, there is Mr. J.R. Walford of the Charlotte branch. Won't you say something, Mr. Walford?
This is J.R. Walford from the Piedmont Belt of South Carolina, upper portion of the state. The boys had a great trip up, and we all enjoyed it, thanks to Mr. Patterson, the manager of the Ford Motor Company Charlotte branch.
The Motor City extends a cordial welcome. The early morning hour failed to dampen the spirit of enthusiasm and fun.
Fresh air taxi cab, hauling up trunk. In the Army again.
A brisk walk to the waiting buses, a glimpse of Detroit thoroughfares, and the great day is underway. The long line of buses carrying the dealers to the State Fair grounds stretches for blocks. Turning through the Ford Gateway, dealers are greeted with their first view of the elaborate preparations made for the morning program. Even the weatherman is in a welcoming mood. On every side, colorful Ford placards and banners reflect the brilliant sunshine of a perfect autumn day. With a skirl of pipes, the Canadian delegation greets its fellow dealers. The Mammoth Coliseum in the State Fair grounds is transformed into a gigantic amphitheater surrounding a circular stage more than 100 feet in diameter. The Universal Credit Company gives each dealer a souvenir cane. Dealers from each branch occupy designated sections in full view of the stage. And for this vast audience, Mr. J.R. Davis outlines the new program for 1937.
In recent years, there have been two outstanding milestones in the course of our business. One, the introduction of the Model A in 1927. The other, the introduction of the V8 in 1932. Our program for next year, in my opinion, is of more importance than the preceding two. I say this because we have two V8 engines for 1937. One, the present V8, greatly improved for maximum performance. The other, a smaller V8 engine, designed for maximum economy. In addition, we have a car that is entirely new, both outside and in. We have a new braking system, one that will permit you dealers to outperform any other car in the low-price field. We have a steering system that is entirely new. We have a car that will permit you to demonstrate to any of your prospects from the standpoint of quietness, economy, comfort, steering, or braking. This, together with a merchandising and an advertising campaign that is more comprehensive than any that we have had in the past few years, should make 1937 not only a Ford year, but one of the greatest in Ford history.
An inspiring address is given by Mr. Edsel Ford, president of the Ford Motor Company.
This company has had a great deal of experience in the course of its 33 years of manufacturing. And one thing it has learned is that the principles on which it is founded are pretty sound, and they wear well in all sorts of times. They are strong enough and have lasted long enough to build up a great independent business, which is profitable to hundreds of thousands of people. In the present confusion of ideas, these same principles continue to stand out as lighthouses guiding us into the channels of the future. For a long time, these principles have been known as the Ford ideal, but it is not an ideal in the sense of being a mere theory or something that can be expected only in the future. It is an ideal that began to be realized from our very beginning. It is a practical ideal. It has made a car of which the public has bought 24 millions and of which it continues to buy more than 1 million a year. We are all thinking very seriously these days about what we can do to help recovery in this country, and I believe most of us have reached the conclusion that the best thing we can do as individuals is to handle our own job in the best possible way. As Ford dealers, you may always have in mind that every time you sell a car, you are building up the national recovery. You are not only keeping tens of thousands of men employed directly in Ford Industries, but hundreds of thousands in other industries. Because we are one of the world's largest consumers of materials, we deal with more than 6,000 suppliers. When you slow down, we slow down. And when we slow down, these 6,000 other concerns slow down. Every Ford dealer is a distinct factor in the economic setup. It does not matter where your business is located, nor whether it is great or small. If you are a Ford dealer, you have a vital, living part in the distribution of real work, real wages, and real wealth throughout our whole country. Your job is one of which you may well be proud.
And then, the introduction of the new cars.
Ford has scored again. Let's see that car. two cars look enough alike to be twins.
Your eyesight does not deceive you, but don't believe everything you see. They are alike in size, appearance, comfort, safety, and driving ease, but they differ in price, performance, and economy. The Phaeton, 85 horsepower. The Deluxe Coupe, 85 horsepower. The Club Cabriolet, 85 horsepower. The Roadster, 85 horsepower.
The Safety Patrol Band of the Dearborn schools leads a parade of sales helps carried by the boys from the Henry Ford Trade School. Over 250 of these boys are featured in the elaborate presentation of the 1937 car. The morning's program closes with an address by Mr. W.C. Cowley.
Today marks an important epoch in the history of the Ford Motor Company. It is by no means the climax to its achievements, but instead just one more step in its progress. For over 33 years, the Ford Motor Company has blazed a trail for the automobile industry, and in so doing, it has achieved what has been the marvel of the entire civilized world. Always, it has emphasized the courage, the faith, and the confidence of its founder, Mr. Henry Ford. As Ford dealers, you know that every ideal of the Ford Motor Company has been toward the making of progress. This occasion gives you the opportunity to get the spirit and the feel of this great institution. You have had emphasized the merchandising tools for the coming year, but the real significance should not be lost in the dramatics of the occasion. The finest tools ever made are ineffective in the hands of incompetent workmen. A fine product deserves a fine merchandising organization. Never has the public been given more for its money than in this 1937 product. It represents not only the genius of a master engineer, but as well the combined thought of the best minds of our organization. It has never been the aim of the Ford Motor Company to follow someone else, but always to improve upon the very best, and then after most rigid tests. This policy is your continuing guarantee of the greatest value for the lowest possible price. The enthusiasm engendered here today is not only inspiring, but it should be the great driving force during the coming year behind an intensive movement for volume sales. Always remember that the force which enables you to succeed at one time is the same force which will enable you to continue that success if you adhere to the same fundamental rules of thinking. And so today, in placing this product in your hands, we do so with confidence in your ability to truly represent that product as well as the institution which produced it. as businessmen, give all you have to your business, and that business in return will give all it can possibly give to you. So we wish you all possible success. Good luck, which is another phrase for hard work, and onward with Ford for 1937.
There had been much food for thought in the exciting morning program. Here is food for, well, the inner man. A cafeteria, complete with steam tables, serves a square meal, hot and appetizing. For the statistically minded, food requirements for the meeting included 4,000 chickens, broilers, 2 tons of potatoes, 50,000 rolls, half a ton of butter, and 10,000 quarts of coffee. Again, those 300 buses are called into service, this time to transport the dealers to Greenfield Village at Dearborn. In the meantime, at the Ford Airport, representatives of the press are greeted by Mr. Henry and Mr. Edsel Ford, and the new cars are displayed for their closer inspection. The press is enthusiastic in its reception of the new product and is eager to carry the story of the choice of 2 engines to a waiting world. They are eager, too, to photograph Mr. Henry and Mr. Edsel Ford standing beside the new engines. But Mr. Edsel Ford reverses the usual order of things, and after the press photographers take his picture, he takes theirs. Nearly 200 newspaper men are gathered to examine the new cars, to inspect the new features, and to flash the news to the nation's presses. The story of the 2 new V8 engines, one for maximum performance, the other for maximum economy, is the greatest automotive story of the year, and the waiting world is anxious to hear it. Meanwhile, the buses have arrived at the gates of Greenfield Village, each carrying its load of enthusiastic and proud dealers. Proud, for the ceremony to be performed before this rapidly gathering throng will be their contribution to the day. With the late afternoon sun tinting the autumn leaves, the thousands of men converging upon a natural amphitheater before a new addition to the village makes a picture not soon to be forgotten. For many months, the Ford dealers have planned and labored to bring a windmill from its site in Cape Cod to the historic streets of Greenfield Village. This ancient windmill, said to be the oldest in the country, was purchased by the Ford dealers. Today, they are to see the time-honored landmark as it is formally presented to Mr. Henry Ford. The ceremony will be opened with a tuneful greeting sung by the children of Greenfield Village School, and the presentation address will be given by Mr. Stark Hickey, Ford dealer from Detroit.
Is there anything that we can do for you? We'll do everything we can. We are with you to a man. How do you do, Mr. Dealer? How do you do? We are very glad to have you here today. We will try our best to please you if we may.
The name Ford is held in high esteem throughout the civilized world. Profound respect and admiration for the founder of the Ford Motor Company and a sincere appreciation of its president, not only as the able son of a distinguished father, but in his own right, the Ford dealers of the United States and Canada, to present you with this ancient windmill and to express the hope that it may endure as an evidence both of the initiative and permanence of honest American industry and as a symbol of the mutual respect and goodwill that may exist in this land between industrial associates, long after all of us here present today have vanished from this pleasant scene. Thank you. Oh, here's the stove. Thank you. You're very welcome. We're very proud of the old American. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm sure you'll have a very pleasant evening before you. Thank you very much.
Following the presentation of the windmill, the dealers make a mass tour of the village. The brick schoolhouse, where Henry Ford as a boy first studied McGuffey's Readers, attracted everyone. The Cotswold cottage, centuries old, was brought over from England piece by piece and rebuilt in Greenfield Village. Thousands of the dealers admire the peaceful beauty of this ancient cottage. Many recall boyhood trips to a similar general store on Saturday night. The Clinton Inn moved to Greenfield Village from Clinton, Michigan, where for many years it welcomed weary travelers. Hundreds paused to hear Gog and Magog strike the hour on the Bennett clock. Others admire the peaceful scene of the Sewanee as she rests at her moorings. The pastoral calm of the Martha Mary Chapel attracts thousands who pause in reverence before its classic beauty. The Martha Mary Chapel was erected as a memorial to Mrs. Martha Bryant, mother of Mrs. Ford, and to Mrs. Mary Ford, Henry Ford's mother. A pleasant visit with mementos of the past draws to a close as the dealers again board the buses for a rapid trip back to the Coliseum, where new thrills are awaiting. In the dealer's absence, the huge building has been transformed into a gigantic banquet hall, where over 2.5 miles of tablecloth cover the hundreds of tables set with 56,000 pieces of silverware. In a colorful and gay setting, Fred Waring and his Pennsylvanians provide music for the evening's entertainment, which includes a coast-to-coast radio broadcast.
Today has been a most exciting day for all of us assembled here in Detroit in this enormous Coliseum at the Michigan State Fairgrounds. More than 8,000 Ford dealers from all parts of the United States and Canada are gathered here for their introduction to the new Ford V8 for 1937. And this is a part of the day's festivities.
Gentlemen, tell the folks at home, how do you like the entirely new appearance of the 1937 Ford V8? And gentlemen, how do you like the new Ford Easy Action safety brakes? And gentlemen, how do you like the choice of two engine sizes? One for maximum performance, the other for maximum economy. What do you think of that, men? And in the meantime,
And back to the hotel that night for registration. 5,700 dealers register in Detroit hotels, while an overflow of 2,500 lodge in a Pullman city created for their comfort. The production, engineering, and administrative departments were well represented in Friday's program meetings, but today they are in their element as hosts to the dealers, the largest single group ever to tour the plants. In addition, Ford export officials and representatives from Ford plants in Canada, South America, and Europe are prominent among the guests. Having seen the new cars and trucks introduced and then produced, the dealers are eager for a closer examination of the 1937 models. No feature escapes their close scrutiny, and the examination of each feature excites new enthusiastic acclaim. The 60 engine attracts them all. But the interiors are not neglected and cause much favorable comment. And the roominess and comfort, as well as its new styling, will appeal to the feminine buyer. Hey, brother, shove over and give me a look. This modern plant, a model of efficiency, attracts the attention of the 8,000 visiting dealers. It is the home of the Lincoln and the Lincoln Zephyr. As at the Rouge plant, the highest standards of precision and accuracy are followed in building America's finest motor cars. And now the Rotunda, that beautiful example of modern architecture, becomes the scene of action. For hours, preparations have been underway to care for the dealers soon to pay it a visit. Bus after bus draws up to its entrance, discharging its load of dealers. They're hungry dealers, too, but that is what the preparations were made for.
How do you like the new Ford, fellas?
Swell! The murals on the Rotunda walls look down on a scene they have never witnessed before, as dealers fill its spacious halls, and once again, thousands are served in record fashion. And here is one more thrill. A new body style has been added to the Lincoln Zephyr models. This graceful coupe, the last word in modern styling.
Oh, baby, wouldn't I go to town if I had one of those? I'd rather drive it than chase it. So would I. Okay, Lieutenant. Well, boys, I see you're a long way from home.
You bet.
Yes, sir. We're from Texas. We'll make this trip again. We'll be as well entertained as we have this time. What do you think of the new car?
I don't think. I know this car will suit the country.
How about you? I'll have no trouble selling this car. No, sir.
I understand you're using Fords down there instead of horses on the roundup now.
Yes, sir, because I use them myself.
You don't have to brand them either, do you?
No, sir.
And how fast will they go?
Just as fast as your conscience will let you drive them.
Uh-huh, and how fast your conscience let you drive them?
Oh, 85 miles an hour.
85 miles an hour.
Yes, sir.
That's going some?
Pretty fast.
What's your name, my friend?
Rowler Motors, Jersey City.
How many of these new Fords are you going to sell this year?
About 400.
Is that all?
Well, my population, I think it's all right.
How do you like this new car?
Lovely.
Mrs. Ford, you're a Ford dealer, aren't you?
Yes,
Where are you from, Mrs. Ford?
Taylorsville, Mississippi.
What do you think of this new Ford?
I think it's the grandest car Ford has ever built.
What do you think of this car, Mr. Eden?
I think it's the grandest piece of machinery that Ford's ever built.
How many of these cars are you going to sell this year, Mrs. Ford?
Oh, I don't know, about 100, I suppose.
Isn't that splendid? Thank you very much. Where are you from?
Collierville, Tennessee.
Where are you from, Mr. Waldrop?
Belfort, Alabama.
You fellas going to sell a lot of Fords this year?
I certainly hope so.
How do you like that 1937 Ford?
Best thing on four wheels today.
Which one of you fellas going to sell the most cars?
I think I'll beat Mr. Walter
What do you say
this
that?
year.
What do you
See the
think?
result.
Uh-huh. Well, Mr. Dalem, I suppose that you'll sell your share of this 1,300,000 Fords that are going to be sold this year?
Well, if we don't, well, it'll be our own fault.
And Mr. Hirschback, what do you think of this car?
We're going to have the finest job I think we've ever done before in our history with the wonderful car we have this year.
And Mr. Dalem, I know you like it.
Yes, I do. I need to tell all of my girlfriends to have one, too.
Isn't that splendid?
What part of Canada do you come from, boys?
We're from Ontario.
Do you think the 1937 Ford is going to go over in Canada?
I should say so. Just wait till we show them.
You think it's a good-looking car?
Aye, and thrifty, too.
Where are you from, gentlemen?
We're from Indiana.
What do you think of the 1937 Ford?
I think it's a wonderful car.
Well, what do you think of the 1937 Ford?
Who's me? I think it's the greatest car ever built.
You agree with that, boys?
We sure do.
Well, boys, I see you're from Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Atlanta, Georgia.
That was a long trip. Do you think it was worth it?
That's it,
Yes, sir.
You bet.
The greatest show we've ever seen. Certainly puts us on the spot to sell these 1937 V8s.
Doug, what do you think of our quota this year of 1,300,000 cars?
Boy, with this new product Mr. Ford's given us this year, we'll sell 1,500,000.
And so is born the determination to translate the inspiration of a great day with Ford into months and years of achievement.